Hey Brad, how are you?
Pretty good. How you doing today?
Doing good. And thank you everyone for joining us. We are doing another interview with Brad Roach here on Vegas Aces. I'm so excited to have you back. I love your comics. They're so funny and hilarious.
I
And
appreciate it.
oh, definitely.
Mhm.
And we are going to go over a few more of them today
Mhm.
so that way we could share your work with everyone. But before we do, I have a few questions for you if you're good with answering a few questions first.
Okay.
Can you tell us more about your journey about turning your comic into a cartoon? I know that a lot of what we're going to be going over right now is comics,
Mhm.
but you are trying to get a cartoon started as well. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, I've always wanted to have. I've ever since I was a kid, I could draw. I wanted to draw cartoons, comics, uh, comic strips, animation. I've always wanted to work in those areas of my life. Even when I was a kid, before I even knew it was a job, I was posting jokes about the lunchroom when I was in junior high. And then one time I got caught drawing my teacher, and then she made me stay after class in order to draw the whole faculty as
Oh,
caricatures. So those are my starts in trying to be a cartoonist. But I needed my niche. I needed something that was going to gravitate me towards something that nobody's ever tapped into. So by working in the casino business when I was first in Laughlin, I started working there and I started seeing the funny things, which I told you last time about the nuns playing slot machines. But there was a lot more things that I started seeing and I started writing them down. Like, these are funny things. These are people doing weird stuff like stepping over ropes when it says "do not step over ropes." Do not cross the barrier and go down the escalator, otherwise you'll fall, and they end up falling. Stuff like that. I was like, these people are crazy. But so I said, there'd be a funny cartoon, but I didn't know what to zone in on at the time. I zoned in on two characters that I created because it was a weird situation that I had a friend that was living in an RV on the river, and they had a ferret and a hamster. And I thought that was kind of weird combination because the hamster would be eaten by the ferret or something like that. But at the same time, my cartoon mind thought when I was a kid, we had a hamster that was kind of a con artist. It got out of its cage and it would come up to my dad and beg for food, and these cute little eyes. And I'm like thinking, man, that's the best con artist ever. Somebody that is so cute and cuddly, but truly is not very a nice person at all. So I was like, okay, that's a good idea. And the ferret, my sister had a ferret, and it was a kleptomaniac. So it would go around picking up anything and everything in the house, and you would find it in his cage. So I put those ideas together. I was like, hey, what about a ferret and a hamster, the two con artists that go in the casino? And then I started thinking, like, wait a minute, these things have already been done, to a degree. Con artists, the people that have been down on their luck, or somebody that's a gambler having issues with gambling, but very rarely, or if anything, from our perspective in the casino business. From not just the dealer's perspective, but from the cocktail waitress to people that work in the pit, people work in the valet, the things that they see every single day. I said, that's the story. That's the story right there. And then my personal life came into play. And I'm like, after a while, starting to realize I'm dealing with life. And that's where I came up with story dealing with it. Because it's not just about my story, it's about everybody else's story too. But just so happens I'm following my story, but at the same time, I'm enlightening myself of that other people are going through similar situations, that comical or not comical, that is funny. So that's where I came up with the concept for working as a cartoon about casinos into a story
and
from our
that's that's
perspective. Hmm.
that's what inspired you to write. That's what inspired
Absolutely.
you to do that.
So I
Awesome.
started writing them on them like every day practically. As I'm in the break room, I'm sitting there bored, drawing on my drawing pad. So I'm always thinking about the next joke. What is the next joke, and what's the next joke? And then I started seeing a pattern from the places I've been before. Like, I've been to several casinos, and I started seeing a pattern of people, situations, people, like romance in the workplace and stuff like that. So I'm like, wait a minute, this is happening here too. That happened over at the other casino I was at. So I'm like, wow, this is it. It could go anywhere and everywhere in different directions, but there will be some similarities that everybody will catch on to. So that's where I really zoned in on, far as keeping it real, but at the same time whimsical.
Okay, that sounds good. And the casino industry is such a great topic to write comics about. There's so much going on and so many stories and everything. Can you share a defining moment or experience that shaped your journey?
Oh, shoot. I guess a good defining moment was when I was at Pachanga, as far as my cartooning idea is, when I was at the casino that I worked at, I shouldn't be saying names, but anyway, when I was working at a casino in California, I left and then I went about my business, going to different casinos and stuff. And I landed at a different casino in Nevada. And that's when I started posting my comics on Facebook groups and stuff like that. And then I had people message me, and they were like, "Oh, you love your stuff," and so I knew I had something for sure, but not really for sure. But I remember there was a time when I was at Pachanga at the casino. I would draw on these big, huge poster boards. And on the poster boards, I would draw little jokes and stuff like that as the people are clocking in and they can see the jokes. It was mostly in our table games area, but anybody and everybody could walk through there and see these jokes. And they're pretty big. It was like one big panel of a joke, not like several comic strips in a row. So it was like really quick. Somebody read it, laughed, moved on. And I'm standing there waiting to clock in or clock out, and I'm watching these people laugh at my stories. At the jokes. I'm like, so I think I have something here. Well, several years later, as I moved into Nevada and started there, that's when the guy messaged me. He says, your artwork looks very familiar. I'm like, what do you mean? And he says, well, did you ever work at Pachanga? I'm like, yeah, yes, I did. And he said, well, your poster boards are still there. And I was like, wow, okay.
This is an example of the poster board you're talking about?
No, that was something totally different. This was actually,
okay.
This was my bosses came to me at the last place I worked recently in California, and they came to me and they says, we want you to do it was a chalk wall, and you can erase it and do another one and do another one. I did like 4 of them, I believe, but I only had 2 pictures of it. Anyway, they wanted me to do a Simpsons version of their caricatures on the wall. So that's what they got me to do that. So that was inspiring too. That was fantastic. Got me to pull out of the pit and just go do that. But it was that's definitely exciting to be pulled out of work just to go do something like that. Yeah.
Well, that sounds fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
We got one more question here for you, and then we're going to take a look at some of your comics. How do you stay updated and relevant in the with comics compared to things that change in the casino?
Well, with the comics, I've tried to keep it what's the word? I try to keep everything modern to a degree that it's still old school. There's a casino in Vegas. I don't know if you've been there. I think it was South Point. One of those actually still has the money falling out of the machine at one point. And then I'm going to have a way of integrating the two, like going from that, because there's jokes about that too. The money falling out of the slot machines versus the tickets. I have a joke about that also. So I try to keep it slowly but surely becoming modern throughout my journey in the comic, but I also try to keep it old school so that it stays relevant to no matter where you at, because some people in another country may do differently what we do here. So I try to keep it in a way that it's universal versus trying to zone in on a certain type of game that they brought in and stuff like that. Like blackjack has like, I don't know how many different variations of blackjack now. So I don't try to go focusing specifically on variations, but I do have jokes about the games that come in and the games that go out. But the relevance is that no matter where you go out in life, we always need well, we always need human interaction. So they try to take away from us so many times. They put like a dealerless dealer table where it's just a monitor or whatever. Then they would always complain about it, or cardless blackjack or something like that. And people would complain about that too. And eventually they would take it out, but they would know eventually that the players want to have human interaction continuously.
Yeah, definitely. Let us see a couple of your comics and then we'll ask you a few more questions.
Sure.
So the first comic that we have here is about COVID, which is perfect.
It was from another cartoonist. We were all, I think we worked together. I don't know if it ever got published, but there was a book that was supposed to be published about cartoonists and comics. But anyway, this was the one, somebody got me to do it. Like it was like passing the torch. They did one, they passed it to me. I did one, I passed it to somebody else. I nominated somebody else to draw one, and this is mine.
Oh, that's fantastic. It says, meanwhile, while Gary's self-quarantined, Vegas reopens, everything returns to normal with a few minor changes. And you see, is that a donkey or a jackass?
That's a jackass.
Okay.
His name is Jack Haas. I'm sorry, Jack Haas.
Oh, I love that. Oh, perfect.
Mhm.
So Jack Haas comes up to the buffet and sees the sign that it is closed due to COVID-19. And he yells, "Buffet is closed. How can you call yourself a casino?" Perfect.
And his mask
And
is
then-
all down. His mouth is all open. He's getting it everywhere.
Oh, just, I love this. And I'm sure you saw that all the time too during COVID.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
everyone.
Pull your mask up. Pull your mask up. Pull your mask up. Oh my
And that's a good point for the next panel where we see a guy with his mask down and he says, and the COVID-19 police are there, and he says, "Hey, I was told I didn't have to wear this mask while I was smoking and or drinking." Yeah, and he's doing both. Now back up 6 feet. CP, COVID police.
I got that because that really happens. I was watching people do that. I'm like, are you serious? You guys are smoking and drinking, and you're telling this guy to back up off of you. So that doesn't make no sense.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's like people would literally smoke and drink more than normal just so they
Right.
wouldn't have to wear a mask. Like
Yeah.
that's
we
not.
had to clean the chips where I was at.
Wow, you actually cleaned the chips? That's
we
rare.
actually had a little pull cart that we pulled up to next to the each table. We had I think it was 4 tables, 2 to 4 tables we had to watch with the glass up, right? And so we would go to those 4 tables and we would walk around, and the dealers would deal and put the excess chips that they just used from the players into a slot they made specifically in the rack. And then we would take them out of that portion, put them on a tray, spray them down, wash them up, put them back in a rack, and give it back to the dealer so the dealer can put it back in the tray.
So really, you're cleaning 20 years of germs off.
It's pretty much. It's like about time you clean these chips. Ain't gonna make no difference, but we tried.
You have that as one of your comics where the guy has the
Glass.
plastic barrier and
Yep.
everything, and you know, everyone has a mask on, and it says muffle, 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 what? Muffle, muffle, muffle. And the player's like, "I said muffle, muffle, muffle." Oh, that's about it.
Yep.
And speaking of cleaning, you have people who are upset that they're cleaning the slots and they're like, "Can't you clean somewhere else? You're holding up the game." That's cheating. Everything is cheating.
Yep.
Anything they don't like is cheating.
Yep.
On the panels below, what is that? So he has a mask on when he passes by the guy and then takes the mask off as soon as he passes by.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he goes to the craps table and says 6 and 8 on all the hard ways and throws the dice, and you see COVID germs like everywhere.
Yeah. And then it shows the next panel below that. That's the continuation of that one.
So what challenges have you faced or overcome that as you've designed the cartoon about casinos?
The biggest challenge is that people would say to me continuously, "How do you write a cartoon about casinos? Not everybody goes to a casino." And I was like, "Well, I tell these jokes to either my wife or my dad that's never been at a casino, and if they get the jokes and they understand the jokes, then I write them down." Number one. Number two, as I try to stay relevant to the jokes where it's that my peers, anybody that like you guys would be reading it would totally get it, and that's my audience. That's who I'm going for anyway. So if you guys get the jokes, that makes me even more happier. Because one time I wrote a comic strip and I forgot to put it. Not really, but I didn't put a number on the craps game on purpose, and I had so many people write me saying, "You forgot the number on this craps game, blah 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 blah." I'm like, "That's because I did it on purpose so I can make sure you're reading it." So you're actually looking at it. It was like I didn't put a 5 on there or something like that, but it was funny. I thought it was in my head. But you have all those comments to come back to me. "You didn't put a 5 on the craps game." Well, that means you're reading it. That makes it wonderful. But then, as far as actually getting it out there, I went on a reality TV show. I Hate My Job. It was hosted by Reverend Al Sharpton. It was on Spike TV. It was the most ridiculous reality show ever. I think maybe 5 people maybe watched it. So that was my opportunity to try to sell myself in a way. But it didn't get nowhere. But it made me move out to California. And then I almost got on a game show at the same time because the PR from the I Hate My Job show called me and wanted me to be on a game show. But at the same time, I had to go for an audition at Pachanga. I was like, do I go for the audition or do I go for the audition for the game show? But she said I would be pretty much guaranteed to be on the show. It was hosted by Howie Mandel. And I was like, oh, okay. I like Howie Mandel. So I was like, let's go for it. But at the same time, like, no, I need to get a job. So I went for the audition for the job instead. It turned out to be deal or no deal. So that went down the drain.
No.
And then just having tried to put this into somebody's hands that's willing to take a chance on it, a lucky chance for a win-win situation, I think it would be a fantastic cartoon for anyone and everyone to see, like Family Guy or even The Simpsons or the show that I used to watch when I was young called WKRP, which was about a radio station. I mean, this is about a casino, but the characters is what drives the show. And I think if somebody actually saw the opportunity behind this, and especially how many people visit Vegas each year, not just there's about 2,000 casinos nationwide. So if you only got a portion of those people watching the show, you already made a good run. Not to mention how many casinos in the world.
I would really love to see a cartoon about this. I think this would be so great and have it like on Comedy Central or something.
Absolutely.
I think it would be so fantastic. Yeah. And I made a mistake. I thought the craps dice that you were talking about was one of the other comics that you sent. So I basically went through everything you sent me just to realize that it was on the same panel that I had up. And
that's all right.
That's my mistake. I just have to say that.
What the? Get this crap off me.
Yes. And then
all the COVIDs are like all over the dice. Like, what the heck? See, that's another thing about my cartoon. I don't know if you'll see the other dice in there too. They talk. There's certain elements that talk to each other that don't talk to humans. Slot machines only talk to little old ladies. There's certain things like that. Like a slot machine, we arguing with each other. It's like, don't give it to her. Don't give it to her. You don't give it up, Gus. And then here's this little old lady I'm making my money back for Christmas that I've spent.
So here are the dice.
Uh-huh.
And they say you have the dice in the bowl and you get them out. It's like, all right, mission has begun. Keep your eyes peeled, soldiers. And then he picks the 2 dice up to throw them. And it's like, we've been chosen for a special mission.
And you notice there's certain, like one over there, the number 3, the far left one, he's on fire.
He's on fire. Yes.
Yeah, so maybe he chose the wrong dice. We don't know. And the other one, maybe cold dice. So yeah, everything has a, I guess, mystical, whimsical element to it in a way that
literal
literal elements, because I got those ideas from watching. Reading BC comics, and they had ants on there that talked quite a bit, but they never talked to the humans. They talked to each other. So I figured, hey, why can I just throw some elements like the dice talking to each other, and how they get lost in certain areas. Like my ex-wife, she got hers a dice stuck into her blouse on craps, and
Oh
they found out
no.
the same dice. And so she had
Oh
to go and dig
no.
out the dice. Those things happens all the time, you know. So it's what would the dice say if they were in that predicament? You know.
Well, so do you have that actually happening like in one of your comics?
Yes, I do actually.
Oh,
But
that's fantastic.
I actually did a cartoon years ago. It's actually a 2 minute short that's on my YouTube videos, but I disbanded it myself because it was horrible animation. It was the first time of trying everything, but yeah, there was a moment that it actually happened where that's where I got the Santa rolling the dice, and he threw the dice off the table, and the two dice are talking to each other. It says, "We're gonna land on a hard 8. Do you understand me? That's a 4 and a 4." And then one lands on the table as a 4, and the other one flies off the table and lands in the cleavage. And it says a 4 also, and the dice says, "Did I make it hard?" And then and then the Santa says, "Oh no, the guy," or it was actually a guy's butt crack, and then the guy turns around and says, "You naughty Santa." I don't know. It's just the way my mind works sometimes.
No, I swear the way that they designed the craps game, it's
Mhm.
all innuendo.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
the come,
And we're
you're
not
gonna
allowed to
come.
say it anymore, supposedly, but I still do.
Yeah.
One hand on the dice, like in the shower.
Yep. So switching topics, uh,
Yeah.
we talked about the ATM comic and
Yes.
everything. So you have this guy who is leaving the casino
The
and he
Walk of
passes by an
Fame.
ATM.
Hmm.
Yeah. He's like, the ATM's like, what? You're leaving? That's it? No fight? Just let Annie M lend you, or just let Annie M lend you some. That's right. Don't let them win. You're a fighter. And then he goes and gets money and everything and like goes back to the casino. And it's like, there goes another one. Who talks to ATMs really? And
Yeah.
that was always a joke of mine, ATMs, because an ATM is the only machine in a casino where you win every single time.
Yeah. I heard somebody say that once is go borrow some money from Auntie M. That was like many, many years ago. Like Auntie M. Oh no, you just gave me a character. Thank you. uh, that's how that came about. I was like, oh, that's funny. And I
It
have
is.
in my mind is she talks like a really raspy New Yorker. Hey, hey, go ahead. Go back in there and make your money.
Oh, that's way better than what I did. Way better.
We used to have these
And
Jersey guys come in all the time, and they would make really funny jokes as they're just sitting there playing, and we'd be laughing. It was just them two and the whole casino dead, and just we were just laughing our butts off because the things they would say.
those are the best nights. So, can you highlight some key changes, trends, or developments that you've seen throughout the years
In the casino,
in
the
the
one thing that
casino?
drives me absolutely crazy now is the loud layouts. The
Mm,
loud layouts
yeah.
that are. I had worked at a casino in Nevada, and our layout was so bright, orangey, whatever colors, and I'm trying to deal, and I would get a headache on that craps game every single time. I feel like the whole thing is coming at me because the way whoever designed it never dealt craps before. That's for damn. And then you have all the video ones now, like the video craps. They have one over here where I'm living now, and I went in there just to check it out. I was flooring over there, and luckily I didn't floor that section because that thing gave me a headache. I'm not even dealing. I was flooring, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, there's no way. This is stupid. But I mean, I get the idea. They're trying to get more people in there to come and do certain things with the videos and stuff like that. But they just need to tone down the colors and the brightness of it or something. Those things drive me absolutely crazy. How they do that. And then as far as the modern world in the casino business drives me nuts is how they have taken like 2 or 3 jobs and crammed them into one. I was a floor when I was before the last place I worked. I was pit boss, floor. What else was I? Pit boss, floor.
Probably a pencil, right?
A pencil. I was penciling, floor, pit boss, and pit clerk all at the same time.
Oh,
I got locked in there. The actual shift manager did the card run. I'm like, that was stupid. And I got locked in the pit. I couldn't even get out. I'm like, see, then now you wonder why we shouldn't have me locked in the pit. Obviously, but it's not just happening there. It's happening everywhere, even where I'm working or here in where I'm at right now. They are cramming. You're not like I went for the job interview, and the job interview said on the actual the letter that I got, it says assistant shift manager. I'm like, oh, sweet. Okay, assistant shift manager. No, you're a glorified floor pit. That's what you are. You get a set of keys. You're stuck in your section just like a floor, but you change your own cards. You do your own crap. You do everything. You can't even watch the games.
Wow.
I mean, that's like, can we just go a little bit further back in time, and so that we can actually watch our games, to be able to have authority over our games? Where it's like, I don't even know what happened because I wasn't even there because my arms were deep into the card box. So
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
And to give viewers kind of a perspective of what we're talking about, back in the old days, a floor supervisor would watch 4 games. And that's it. Like you would have a boxman on 1 craps game, and that was it. And now you have floor supervisors watching 8 games. You have the boxman like watching 2 craps games and a roulette game.
That's what I was doing here.
Yeah, see that's just ridiculous because you cannot do your job.
And then you have dealers that are trying to hustle that you're away from, or they're causing havoc with certain players. And you, as a boxman or whatever you're supposed to be at the moment in time, don't have the authority to even fight the matter because you don't know what actually happened. And especially with craps being a verbal game, the only thing we got is the eye in the sky or the dealer's word. And these dealers that I worked around recently are so arrogant, they don't even realize that they're pissing off the players. And that's what's really terrible. Like, wow, okay, you're not allowed to say that to the player. But that goes back to if I had to tell somebody when they're starting a career in the casino business, there's 4 rules in a casino. And the number 1 rule is never trust anyone in a casino, no matter who it is. Never trust anyone. The second rule is when in doubt, call it out immediately. The third one is the floor is always right. The fourth is refer to rule number 1, but when you get off the game and away from the players. There's so many times that I had run-ins with a new dealer that think they can actually have a verbal conflict with a player on the game. And when I was old school, I was taught you don't do that. You shut up.
Right.
Because you're there to make bread and butter, especially when I was keeping my own tips. How was I going to make money if I'm causing trouble with this one guy? Everybody else at the table is starting to look at me and saying, no, I'm never tipping him again. He's a jerk. So that's the way of keeping myself in check, is let the floor handle it. And then when I get off the game, take it to the break room or whatever and say, hey, I don't think that call was right, and talk to your floor about it. And then we'll talk to the shift manager, whatever it be. Take the chain of command and keep it real that way versus trying to get yourself in trouble because you're putting a mark on your own back and not making any money.
Yep,
so that was
exactly. And that was what we learned as a dealer too. Like you, and I know it sounds horrible, but as a dealer, you shut up.
Yeah.
Like you don't say anything. If you have a problem, you call your floor. And that's that.
And the thing is, I don't know if the modern world, but if you do that, you will make more money in the future, because you did exactly what you're told to do. Whether the floor was right or wrong, it will come back on the floor, not you.
Yes.
So uh,
And never argue with the floor.
right, never argue with the
Never.
floor. Take it outside the pit, take it out to the break room, wherever you want to talk about it, get it out of your system, and let the floor explain to you why he made that call. Because sometimes there's a reason why we make certain calls for the player's benefit. And it's not that we love the player, it's that maybe we're keeping an eye on him or her and thinking about what surveillance may be catching, or even shift managers, or even if gaming's watching, then they will pull the player out. So there may be a reason why we're saying the things we are and making these calls, not to piss off the dealer or anything like that. We're just trying to be the back. I always told the dealers that I had, because years ago, I almost got carpet tunnel really bad from the first year that I was dealing. And I had a floor supervisor. His name was Dick. And he was
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, seriously. And he was a jerk, but he was old school. And he came in and taught me how to deal correctly, and I don't have problems since. Whether or not he was a jerk to me, but he saved my hands. I wouldn't be drawing today if it wasn't for him pulling me aside and me listening to him. I could have been arrogant and said, no, I got this. I don't need your help. But he helped me because he knew I was doing it wrong. And that's where I think that a lot of the newer dealers and people coming into the casino business don't realize that we're there if you want to help, because we've been around. We'll show you how to do it. I pulled some people aside about conflicts with players, how to resolve it by just letting the dealer, floor supervisor handle it, so that there's no true conflict. So in my cartoon, I have those moments too. I have a floor supervisor that is constantly drilling Lucky about certain things, and Lucky's just like wide-eyed and stupid.
Like clearing your hands.
Clearing the hands one, yeah.
I love that comic. I don't have it up right here, but yeah, that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize that, like, the floor supervisor will help you learn how to be a better dealer. You just have to listen to them. As a dealer, your job is to take, whatever the floor supervisor gives you and then apply that. Like, do not fight with your floor supervisor. They're there to help you.
But messages to the floor is, don't forget where you came from either.
Yes.
Because there's so many times that as soon as they get promoted, their head is bigger than the box that they're sitting on. And so the dealers won't listen to them, or they think that the dealer thinks they're picking on them, or whatever it may be. Because I've seen those things happen also. So it goes both ways. It's just be coordinated everywhere. We're all part of a crew. We're all part of a team. Let's work together.
Yeah, it does go both ways. It is good to work together. I completely agree. But sometimes there are times where you just do not get along with the floor. And it's totally okay to ask your management to put you in a different pit.
Yeah, that goes into my cartoon too, but I'll leave that.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
I'm going from personal experience. I had this one floor supervisor that I was like, I cannot work with this guy. I'll give you a little
tidbit, but it's like a little short, really short floor supervisor, and she was a pain in the butt. And for some reason, there was chili that day, and everybody had gas going at the same time. And she was walking right through it. I mean, it was kind of bad, but at the same time, that's what you get. Top dusting.
That's the best kind of revenge, honestly, is chili.
Yeah, hey, can't control it. Natural substance.
Oh man. Let's take a look at one more of your comics and everything. So I like this one a lot. So we are bringing it up here right now. So with this comic, you are getting ready to go to work and everything. The character's getting ready to go to work. The character says, I am so unprepared this Halloween. Well, I guess I'll wear my old costume. And then his kid comes in, and the kid's like, "What the? You're going as the bedazzled man?" And he's like, "No, Elvis." And the kid's like, "What's an Elvis?"
Yep, that really happened.
That really happened?
Yeah, that's where that costume that I dressed up like Halloween. I dressed up for actually upstairs in the casino I worked up in Washington State. They had a cabaret upstairs, and I really wanted to get involved with doing their sets and set designs and stuff like that. It was something that I so wanted to do. And after working with them for a little while, they said, "Hey, wanted to come in? They're going to do a glitz and glamour night. Would you mind you want to perform or something like that?" I'm like, "I'm not a performer, but I'm a comedian. Let's see what I can do." And so I came up with the whole Elvis concept, and I made this situation like the box of Elvis is frozen and he's defrosted and he's witnessing the modern music and he couldn't handle it. So I sung Burning Love. I went through the casino, nobody even recognized me, not even my coworkers. I died.
You
That's
look
my
like
real
a good
hair.
Elvis, though.
That
like
was my
your
real
Elvis impersonation is perfect.
That's my real hair too.
Wow.
I grew my hair out for it, and I dyed it black for that moment. And yeah, nobody knew who I was. It was fun.
You look so
Every
much
year,
like Elvis.
but every year I always made my own Halloween costumes for the casino. So like one year I was Pinhead and I won first place, and another year I was a gargoyle, and then one year I was an actual tree, and I won another $1,000 off of that one too. So, but then I didn't know what to do with that year, so I was like, my mom, loves Elvis. I just dress up as Elvis, see if I can pull it off, and it was fun.
That's really cool.
And I sang in public. Oh my goodness, that was.
Let's do one more comic. We see two ants going to the casino dumpster, and if anyone has ever seen a casino dumpster, it's where all the buffet food goes.
Yeah.
That hasn't been eaten, so it's just filled with ants and filled with insects, and it's just like a buffet for them. And then we see the ants and everything. Like, I can't believe we finally hit the jackpot. And is he smoking like a cigarette bud?
Yeah. Yep.
That's great. Oh man.
Yeah.
No, I love this.
I'm old school when it comes to cartoons. My characters smoke, they drink.
And he even has like a whole, like, on his back and everything, a whole load on his back with like a bottle and everything attached and stuff. Oh, love it. Love it.
That was right around the COVID time when I guess we reopened, and I was bored and I was just drawing. I drew the ants first. I'm like, what am I going to do with these ants? And I thought about, and it just came to me, and I was like, because during that time, even though we didn't have a lot of our restaurants open, we had still restaurants open, but they were dumping stuff left and right because we didn't have that many customers in the beginning. It's like, wow, what a time for ants to just come in and say, hey.
Right? Are there any misconceptions about drawing a cartoon about casinos that you would like to clarify?
That it's easy. I mean, I have, a plethora of ideas. It's a never ending story. You think you've seen something, and tomorrow's a new day, and then, but the hard part is actually, putting it together and the coloring and all that stuff, put it into a book and making sure I do it the way it's supposed to be done for the publisher. And that part's where it's hard. I mean, I can do the comic strip, cartoon, and coloring and drawing it all day long, but the actual putting it together in a kind of a branding, packaging kind of way, that's the hard part because now my mind has to think business. And
yeah.
So that's the hard part because I don't want to think business all the time. I'd rather think about cartoons all the time, but it's actual business. So until I actually make some good capital off of it or whatever, in order to keep, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Just like Charles Schultz, he died on the day that he retired. And I think I would do the same thing no matter what, I'm still going to draw. But if I had a bit opportunity to be syndicated or actually have an animated cartoon, I'll be doing it forever and until the day I die. But the exhausting part is me doing it alone. Nobody's
Yeah.
helping me. I'm coloring it, I'm drawing it, I'm writing it, I'm putting it together. I'm trying to make sure I put it into a nice, beautiful book format. Because what the original, I mean, when it's all said and done, I'm gonna have it's gonna be like a huge deck of cards, and each book is a different suit, and each suit has a different book, so forth. So that's the plan. It's exhausting.
It's yeah, when you're doing
But
something by yourself.
it's a positive stress that I enjoy versus a
Oh,
negative
good.
stress. Yeah.
That's
And
good.
therapy.
Yes, I bet.
One of the craziest things I did see, and I don't know if I told you the story, but there was a little person that came in. Did I tell you that story? Uh,
No, I don't think
a
so.
little person came in with her husband, and her husband looked like Jesus, and
Oh,
he had a cloak like the Matrix. It was already bizarre. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So she sat on my table. She was funny. She was joking. She was from Louisiana. I'm from Louisiana. She was having a good time. But every time she started getting liquored up, she started sliding down in the chair. And so I had to
oh,
pick her. The guy had to pick her back up. The Jesus husband picks her back up every time she slides back down in the chair. Picks her back up, slides back down in the chair. So the next time I saw them was like 3 months later. They were coming in. They wheeled her up to the table. There's my favorite dealer. There's my favorite dealer. And he picks her up, puts her on the chair, takes a bicycle chain out of his bag and wraps it around her and locks her to the chair.
no.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if you can do that here. But it's like,
Yeah, for anyone listening, that's not technically acceptable, so
no,
don't do that.
not
Oh
at
my
all.
God.
So I gotta figure out how to write that one because that was so funny. You can't make stuff like that up.
No, you see so many things in the casino you literally could not make up. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we end this?
Um, uh, Not really. I guess I don't have anything. I don't see anything that's affecting my cartoon as I see it right now, as far as ever losing the path of ideas.
Good.
But
'Cause-
tomorrow's a new day, and you think you've seen it all, and that doesn't mean tomorrow could be something totally different than what you saw today. You know as well as I do. You see crazy things happen to the casino all the time, and all we're just doing is watching it and dealing with it.
Yep.
Mhm.
Well, I am looking forward to seeing more of your comics, and I hope to have you on again as a guest because I really enjoy talking with you about this and like looking at your comics and everything.
I'm going to
And
start trying to crank them out and then more, and then posting them more
oh,
often.
cool.
This past few weeks, I finally got to an area where I'm actually thinking about doing some YouTube videos, also doing some more
Oh,
drawing
good.
videos, more in a way. I'm not a presenter or a teacher, but I could do it in a way that people can watch what I'm doing and basically show them how I'm putting everything together. So they can also see how hard the work can be put something
Yeah.
like this together.
And we'll put a link to your YouTube channel in the description below, as well as your website and everything. So that way people could take a look at your comics and what you do and be able to follow you and everything. And then one day, hopefully, Netflix will pick you up and we'll get like a
That would be awesome.
full-fledged
That would,
we'll get a
heck
full-fledged
yeah.
cartoon. I would love that.
I can see it. I see it every day in my head. The whimsical things that could happen, that will happen. Yeah, I can see
We
it.
need it.
Hmm.
We definitely need it.
And that's one
Well,
thing. Another thing about the casino industry, when you talked about in the beginning of when people ask me, "How can you write a cartoon about it?" I'm like, "Why not write a cartoon about
yeah.
it?" There's so many things that we've seen, but at the same time, we need to learn to laugh at ourselves. And
Yes.
casinos, I mean, there's a lot of casino movies and stuff out there that bash the casino. I'm not bashing, nor am I giving the casino credit. This is about personal choices in life and what you're going to do with your next day and how you deal with life.
And even though your comics are like a literal, representation of what's going on, it's so based on reality. Like this is what we see in the casino. This is like every casino dealer's experience.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'll give you some more comics next time so I can show you exactly what you're talking about.
Well, I'm looking forward to having you on next time. And thank you so, so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Cool. And thank you everyone for watching. We hope you come back to watch us do another interview with Brad Roach and his amazing comic Dealing with It. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a good one.